GM and welcome back to the channel. Today is 4-day. This is CZ's sign for FUD, and there's plenty of FUD out there in the market. Some of it is grounded in some very serious things, but others definitely just more on the FUD spectrum. So I'm going to dive into a lot of news stories that have caught my attention over the weekend and the last couple of days and bring you up to speed with what has been going on in the crypto world. If you enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. So we'll start here with some BTC price action. So on the most bullish or optimistic approach here, you can see that we were in this consolidation range somewhere between 22,800 and 23,800 in that kind of 1K region. And we just spent some time in here. We had a deviation below, a breakdown that failed. We then come back inside the range, had a breakout, that then failed and back inside the range. And then subsequently, we've had another breakdown here. And we're now outside of the bottom of the range for the second occasion in the last month there. But you can see we've put in a higher low as compared to this around the 13th, 14th of Feb versus the 3rd, 4th of March there, 22,000 bucks flat. We did actually go below about 21.8, but generally putting in a higher low. If this is maintained, then I would kind of expect us to pop back inside this box at some point in the not too distant future here. There's a lot on the menu this month, however. Unemployment data in the US coming out on Friday. Then the following Tuesday, the 14th, we have CPI data and the FOMC the week after again. So plenty of headwinds here in the crypto space and lots of volatility and chop, I imagine. But that is the kind of bullish perspective here. Higher low has been put in and we just need to see a bit of follow through here for BTC and try and catch up with the correlation for the likes of the US indices, which have had a nice little bit of a bounce at the start of March. So let's start here with a bit of perspective. Bob Lucas tweeted this: Silvergate closure, Binance crackdown, Mt. Gox sellers, ETH staking withdrawals, interest rates rising, inflation, add Bitcoin's historical volatility of around 30% drawdowns as to be expected, even in these rising markets, while investors need to see beyond a storm and appreciate what we have here. So his kind of outlook is he believes the lows are in, but there will be either now or very soon volatility events. We could see large drawdowns, and the news narratives typically support the movements in the market. If we're bullish, you'll have bullish news coming out. If we're bearish, there'll be FUD left, right, and center. We've been going down over the last couple of weeks here, and what do you know? All the FUD storms come and hit at once. Coincidence? I think not. So you will be tested, but the conviction needs to remain on the long time frames for investors at least. If volatility is shaking you out, you are overexposed to the market. Remember, we're just 12, 13 months away from the next Bitcoin halving, so it is worthwhile having that long-term perspective and knowing where we're heading in 2024. So the first piece of FUD, which is kind of grounded in truth here, because this is obviously more than FUD, you got Silvergate Bank looking on the brink of bankruptcy. And as Being Crypto reports here, stablecoins have been the flight of safety for many in the industry. Makes a lot of sense. If you don't know what the heck's happening, you kind of hit the pause button and go into stables. Silvergate, the biggest crypto-friendly bank with over 90% of deposits from the crypto industry. So of course, this getting absolutely obliterated in terms of its stock price, a bit of a bank run ensuing on there, and a load of major crypto institutions cutting ties with Silvergate. This, of course, is very bad for the industry. And what we've seen over the last few days is Bitcoin's volatility pretty much die, and we've just been going flat sideways around 22,000. That is probably due to liquidity drying up in the crypto space as larger players are playing it a bit more safe here. So Silvergate was a bank that pivoted from a small regional presence to a huge one with 12 bill in deposits by Q3 of 2022. And this fallout has seen a lot of flight to stablecoins in the industry. Understatement here, Silvergate is facing selling pressure. The chart is pretty damn horrendous. And if we just go down to this piece down here, we can see some of the monumental crashes from the crypto industry over the last 12 months. Terra collapse, 3 Arrows, FTX, and now Silvergate seeing some bank runs at the start of the year. There was a bit of FUD around Silvergate, but this has materialized to the stock price going nosediving towards $6 as of today. Clients that have cut or suspended ties with them include the likes of Coinbase, Circle, Paxos, Crypto.com, Bitstamp, Galaxy, Gemini, and a whole host of others. So this, of course, is rather bad for the industry, and we're looking for banking partners. That has been the name of the game here in the start of 2023. You've heard Binance looking for banking partners. They had to move away from Signature Bank, and it seems like other industry titans are also having very similar problems right now. Then we have Binance US with some more FUD here. This is kind of a reiteration of a previous story I actually covered around the Voyager case. But this is just, again, the SEC officials coming out and saying, look, Binance US is an unregistered securities exchange, which is the view of individuals from the SEC here. So speaking at a bankruptcy hearing to determine if Voyager should be sold to Binance US, the SEC senior trial attorney, Mr. William Upgrove, said he was responding to Judge Michael Wiles of the Southern District Bankruptcy Court in New York, who said at the outset of the hearing that the SEC had provided little guidance or specifics about its objection to the Voyager sale. So the SEC attorney quoted as saying, the staff believes, based solely on the facts and circumstances currently known to the staff, that the offering and sale of VGX tokens has the attributes of a securities transaction. The staff also believes that Binance US is operating an unregistered securities exchange in the US. But it is then noted that the SEC staff's views don't necessarily reflect that of the 5 commissioners at the head of the agency, and the commission has not made any determinations on either of these issues. The staff beliefs do not represent the views of the commission. So that well could just be additional FUD here, reiterating old stories, but we don't have a case closed on this that Binance US is an unregistered securities exchange. And I believe this will take some time to actually play out, and there will be some major court cases, potentially some fines, and a lot more of Binance being dragged through the weeds to do with this issue. Voyager plans to sell its assets to Binance US as part of its Chapter 11 bankruptcy restructuring plan, and the vast majority of Voyager's creditors, around 90% of which have supported the proposal, and a hearing to discuss the plan is headed into its 3rd day. So creditors do want a relationship here with Binance and for them to buy out the assets, but it is obviously being roadblocked by the SEC. So you do have to wonder, whose interests are they working in? Then next up, crypto exchange Kraken to launch new crypto bank in the US amid regulatory issues. So Kraken have gone, screw it, we'll set up our own bank. This has been in the work for some time, but I've only just read about this when I thought this was super interesting. They kind of gave away the ETH staking for US participants to the SEC. They said, slap on the wrist, we'll pay the fine and we'll take ETH staking off the table for clients. But they're not backing down on this one. Kraken Exchange over in the state of Wyoming will be setting up their own crypto bank. Quoted as saying, Kraken Bank is not yet open, but it's on its way. That will be the name, Kraken Bank. The offering will initially be available to existing Kraken clients in the US, with potential international expansion in the future. CEO David Kinitsky quoted as this, Kraken has always been on the frontier of finance, and we're now blazing a trail by opening a Wyoming-based crypto bank. We were calling it Kraken Financial, but due to overwhelming demand, it will now be known as Kraken Bank, with the first ever crypto company to be awarded a US state banking charter. It's known as a Special Purpose Depository Institution, or SPDI. This is super interesting, what we've seen here with the likes of Silvergate closing down. Maybe one of our own here with Kraken will be able to provide the on and off ramps for the industry going forward. And the fact that it's going to be onshore in the US in the state of Wyoming is obviously a positive thing for regulation as well, as surely they would not be given these licenses if this were to be pulled at any future date. So I think once it's up and running, there's a high likelihood that this just continues to run forever then and can't be rugged by the SEC or other lawmakers. So this is obviously in a time of need, crypto doing it for itself here. Hats off to Jesse Powell, Kraken and the team. Then this one was a crazy story. I've seen a load of this on the news around Nigeria, and the Nigerians actually rejecting a Cbdc. They have been royally tucked up within this transaction though. So we'll do a little bit of a clip in just a second, but it says Nigerians are protesting the African country's digital currency and demanding renewed access to paper money despite government incentives. So this one is pretty crazy, and I think this is coming to a Western society near you. You kind of get a look into the future for Western societies with the kind of shenanigans that goes on in other regions of the world where people are more impoverished and more prone to being bullied by the state. In Nigeria, citizens took to the streets to protest the nation's cash shortage, further objecting to the government's implementation of a Cbdc. The shortage came about due to cash restrictions aimed at pushing the country into a 100% cashless economy, the kind of shit you do if you're going to have hyperinflation and your central bank has run out of control. Yet instead of adopting the Cbdc, Nigerian protesters are demanding paper money be restored. Listen to this clip here.
You queue for it. Government collected all our money. They told us to deposit all our money into the bank. That after the 31st, they'll give us back our money. But now you cannot access your own money. Which kind of government is this?
A very corrupt one. So this is essentially the story that the government were telling people to deposit their money into a bank. Always a bit of an alarm bell for that one. So come and deposit all your money, guys. Yeah, maybe we'll give you some form of favorable interest rate, that kind of thing. Once your money's all in there, you can't actually withdraw it. So they put limitations on the amount of paper money that can be withdrawn from an ATM. These are scenes at an ATM, and it was the equivalent of $20 US, the max withdrawal that you could take out, which of course left people in absolute uproar, despair. They're trying to push CBDCs on them with this, and it looks like there's just full-scale riots and things are really kicking off over there at this point in time. So the question is, when we look at the Google search term for Bitcoin, is it any surprise that Nigeria is coming up with a 100 on the search register there? This shows you that people in Nigeria are searching Bitcoin at the highest rate they ever have. Because when your own government fails you, your own banking institutions fail you, what the heck do you have to fall back on? If we didn't have cryptocurrency, there literally would be no way out at this point, but we do have the likes of the Bitcoin network. So this will obviously help adoption overall. And as we see the cracks forming in society, the emergency hatch is BTC. So hopefully right now Nigerians are getting some good education on Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies more broadly. And as we can see, this is a clear use case for the Bitcoin network over in Africa. Some more falls here, some more FUD from Voyager here. Voyager have been liquidating assets. Obviously, Binance's bid not going to go through. They sold 1,400 Ethereum via Wintermute, that is the market maker, and received $2.25 million back. This was around 48 hours ago at this point, but you can track the wallets over on Etherscan and see how the funds are being moved about. So it looks like they're just liquidating positions here. The SEC are blocking the potential bid for their assets, and over time it looks like they're just going to go cash everything out, divvy it up, and split it amongst the creditors. They do hold a metric ton of SHIB, $57 million worth is quite a lot of that token, and they still have almost 150,000 Ethereum that could hit the market as well. Shanghai has been pushed back, withdrawals not until April now, so hopefully this could be cleared before that kind of thing opens up. The whole Mt. Gox situation as well has been blown out of proportion. There is no immediate funds hitting the market on the 10th of March like you may have seen on other shady crypto channels, but this of course does account for some sell pressure on the markets there from Voyager. Then we have this has caught my attention twice now in just 1 week. Algorand from Algorand reveals a wallet infiltrated by malicious actors as MyAlgo renews a warning. Crypto exchange Algorand, wallet provider MyAlgo have both suffered security breaches in the last few weeks. Millions of dollars have been drained here. This is the one from the previous week, $9.2 million exploit. ZachXBT picked up on this one. 19.5 million Algorand tokens and 3.5 mil in USDC stolen on the network. Around 1.5 million was frozen by change now, but this is obviously very bad for that network. They have a security flaw and they were not able to patch it after this last exploit. And now there seems to be more ongoing exploits as of today. So if you do have funds with Algorand on your own wallet, I would be very, very suspect about that. Maybe get them over to a centralized exchange or something and maybe cash them out. Not financial advice, but that is probably what I would do if I was an algo holder. Then last but not least, let's finish on this one. The oversubscription of PodFast has been insane to see, and this means quite low allocations in terms of those IDOs. So most anticipated launch to date, the numbers do not lie. Indeed, over 9% of the Trust Swap token supply was staked in the last 30 days leading up to this one and pledged for an average duration of 3.5 years. This boosted up people's overall swap score multiplier, as the longer you stake it for, the higher your swap score becomes. Over 10.8 million and 185 mil in swap staking scores were pledged for PodFast, making this raise 33x oversubscribed. This makes me bullish on the actual launch of the token, which will be on the 15th of March via the PancakeSwap DEX. I think there's going to be significant buy pressure on that, but of course individuals haven't got that big of an allocation due to this huge oversubscription. The stats on screen showing you that a lot of people piled into this one, particularly for this fast launch. Huge waves being made on the Binance ecosystem there, with TrustSwap being the highest network by growth metrics there over the last week. And this one is quite interesting to see. You made PodFast our second highest pledge launchpad ever. So bear in mind the fact we're in a bear market right now. The fact this is the second biggest launch in their history, And of course, we had a crazy bull run in 2021. For this to be that oversubscribed shows you the appetite for individuals for this launch coming to the market on the 15th. This was the breakdown here. The minimum staking score you have to get is 4,000. The allocation for that, just $10 worth of fast. If we just tier up, 40,000 gets you $70, and then around 320,000 swap score gets you $560 for this allocation. And then the guys who are absolutely ham into this one, getting a rather large allocation of around 4,000 US dollars. This is going to be super interesting to see how the kind of reflections take place during the first few days of trade. Obviously, some individuals, if they're getting like 10, 20 bucks, what do? Do you hold? Because there's not much point dumping a $10 allocation straight away at IDO. I think there could be a lot of bid for this one at the get-go due to the fact people haven't got the allocations they wanted. And so I do think that initial liquidity pool is going to see a lot of trade over the first few days. And in terms of those reflections, 2% of each on-chain activity is deducted, with 0.75% of which going to holders as reflections. So if you've got a decent allocation, you just leave it in your wallet, you're going to accrue more and more fast tokens via the reflections, which is the same as a token tax for any transactions on the network. And overall, I just do think that this one is obviously bullish. The fact it's oversubscribed so heavily in a bear market really does speak volumes that the fact that this is hitting key narratives that people really do want to ape into. So all eyes on this on March 15th. So we covered some serious ground in this one, loads of the news stories and things that have really hit my eyeballs over the last few days, most of which FUD based, bearish, but overall the adoption of crypto is only going in one direction. And with that longer term time horizon hat on, just remember 13, maybe 14 months away from the next Bitcoin halving, and another opportunity to make some life changing gains. Hope you enjoyed this one. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Peace.